So something my teenage sister told me the other day: young enough to know I can, old enough to know I shouldn't, but stupid enough to do it anyway. Where she got this quote, I have no idea. But I think it's safe to assume that we would all agree that knowledge is power. The more you know about any topic, whether it's contraceptions or donating blood, the better off you are. So as you all know, I'm raising my teenage brother and sister, and it is not easy. I also work for the Division of Youth and Family Services in the adolescent department. And I see most of our cases are many teenagers that are sexually active, teenage moms, have STDs, and it's different races, religious, different status levels, from rich to poor. From my survey, not everybody answered my survey. From my survey, 8 of us have children under 18 and 3 of us have children over 18. So today I would like to discuss teenage sexuality, what causes it, and how we can fix it. Teenagers start to explore their sexuality at a very young age, and this causes many problems for teenagers, their family, and society itself. Stated in the article, Teenage Sexuality and Pregnancy, the most common reason for teenagers to start having sex or exploring their sexuality is because of boredom, curiosity, and to please the other partner. Tyra Banks, a host of a TV show, Tyra Banks, gave a survey to 10,000 teenage girls. And on average, these teenage girls lost their virginity at 15 years old. According to the Carnal Knowledge website, it states that 66% of American high school students will lose their virginity by the time they reach their senior year. And stated in the Healthy Sexuality book by Julie Anderson and the Vital Signs article, I learned that 44% of sexually active teens use condoms as a form of contraception. 18% of females that are sexually active use birth control without condoms, and 10% of teenage girls that are sexually active use birth control and condoms. That leaves roughly about 50 to 30% or 50 to 40% of teenagers that don't use any kind of contraception. Unprotected sex could lead to pregnancy. How to End War Over Sex Education, the journal article. In 2009, 5,000 teens between the ages of 10 to 14 gave birth to a child. And in the article about teen pregnancy, in 2010, it was reported that over 350,000 teens between the ages of 15 and 19 gave birth to a child. Also stated in this article, teenagers who have unprotected sex have a 90% chance of becoming pregnant within the first year of having sex. Many teens that get pregnant will lead to abortions. Teen pregnancy statistics states about 1/3 of teenagers that become pregnant will have an abortion. That means 24 out of every 1,000 teens have an abortion. And a lot of this is because most states don't require parent consent for abortions, and that leads to New Jersey, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. having the highest rate in teenage abortions. Another huge concern about sexually active teens is the worry of STDs. From the book Healthy Sexuality, each year over 3 million teens contract the STD or STI, many of which have no symptoms and is passed unknowingly. Also stated in that book, 4 out of every teens will have worry about contracting an STD. In the article, Carnal Knowledge, 65% of all STDs contracted by teenagers are contracted by teenagers, and 1 out of 4 new HIV infections occurs in people younger than 22 years old. Teen sexuality is a problem for society as a whole as well. From an article, Like Father, Like Son, teenagers becoming parents usually have limited education because they drop out of school, like Suzanne said. They often become low-income families, and low-income families are at higher risk for abuse and neglect. There are many concerns with teens becoming sexually active from having unprotected sex, getting pregnant, and contracting STDs. It's scary to think that what our children and our children's children have to look forward to. So I think it is important for parents as well as children to become informed. tell you what causes a teenager to become sexually active. Teens become sexually active and it can't just be blamed on one thing. From the University of New Hampshire Corporation Extension, the Family Development Fact Sheet, teens become sexually active because of normal body changes, the hormonal changes, and the increase of teen sex drive. Also, teens start to become more independent by balancing their parents' beliefs, their peers' influence, the media, and their body changes, along with their own personal values. Teen pregnancy risk factors and causes, in many cases, learn about sex from TV, books, magazines, and friends, which we all know is not the best sources to gain information. From reading the results from our survey, I found majority of us spoke with our friends about sex and not to our parents. And we were too uncomfortable to talk to our parents. Abstinence versus comprehension sex education article states, abstinence-only education is helpful, but it doesn't really pertain to the teenagers that are already sexually active. These teenagers are sexually active and need the know-how to protect themselves by using condoms, by learning about all the contraceptions available, and with speaking open and honest with a responsible adult, whether it's an older parent or a relative. There are many reasons why teens start having sex. No matter what we as parents think, teens are going to make their own choices and their own mistakes. Teens are getting infected with STDs and becoming pregnant because of lack of knowledge, what their friends tell them, and what the media perceives sex to be. Last, we will talk about how we could reduce teens from getting pregnant and getting infected with STDs. We may not be able to prepare the future for our children, but we could prepare our children for the future, said Franklin D. Roosevelt. Like I said in the beginning of my speech, knowledge is power, so let's see how we can make our children more aware of not making these bad choices. From the journal article, How to End War Over Sex Education, between 2006 and 2008, most teens said they did have a formal sex education class before turning 18. Research has shown that numerous education programs have been effective in delaying sexual initiation and increasing the use of contraceptions and birth control and condoms. Also found in this article, 30% of sexually active teens never spoke with their parents, which we already just figured that. Their research also shown that teens who have open communication, parents that have open communication with their children can delay sexual activity, but are children going to talk to their parents? Many parents worry that comprehensive sex education encourages teens to be involved in sexual activity, but stated in the Carnal Knowledge website, in a study of 35 sex education programs, there is no evidence found proving that this leads to an increase of sex in teens. The study also shown that abstinence-only programs are less effective than comprehension sex ed classes because it includes both abstinence and safe sex practices. Planned Parenthood did a study and had the same conclusions. Next, I will explain the difference between abstinence-only education and comprehension education. Abstinence-only education promotes abstinence only from sex. It doesn't affect the teens that are already sexually active. It doesn't teach about contraception use, condom use. It doesn't talk about abortions, and it only discusses certain STDs and HIV. Comprehension sex education promotes abstinence from sex, acknowledges that many teens will become sexually active, teaches about contraception and condom use, and will discuss the different contraceptions available to teens that are sexually active. They also discuss relationships with gays and lesbians, which could reduce in bullying against gay and lesbian hate crimes. Abstinence only versus comprehension article. There is currently $102 million spent by the government on abstinence-only programs designed to serve social and political goals but not produce solid health outcomes for young people. There is no credible evidence that these millions of dollars have a positive effect, but there is reason to be concerned that teens who receive abstinence-only education will not have to pay the tolls to protect themselves and learn how to protect themselves in a sexual situation. There is no research that will settle the moral or religion disputes that circles the debate of sex education. But what we can do is point to parents, educators, policymakers towards positive health outcomes for young people today. Like it or not, sexual activity is a reality for teens in this country, and it is hard to imagine that a school-based intervention which will undo the media pressures, natural hormones, urges that teens experience every day. Research has found that teens are uncomfortable talking to their parents about sexuality and has shown that teens do become sexually active at a young age, and research has shown that teens need to know the facts. In conclusion, the facts are teens are becoming more sexually active, they are contracting STDs and becoming pregnant, and there is a way that we could reduce it. The major concerns with teens becoming sexually active, mainly because of their lack of knowledge or where they're getting their information from. The STD/STI rate, pregnancy, and abortion rate are high in America. Teen pregnancies do not only affect the child, but also society. Yes, we all want our children to stay virgins forever, but it's not reality. By giving our children the accurate and consistent information about the importance of condoms and contraceptions when they are sexually active will prepare them for any sexual encounter that they have. Like I said throughout the speech, knowledge is power, and I know I would want my family to know everything they could know to protect themselves.